Hello and welcome to the Heaven Forbid Your Movie Make Money podcast, the show where we help independent filmmakers find movie distribution. This week we'll be tackling the all-important question, how do independent films make money and what is film distribution? My name is Daniel, I am an independent filmmaker and the video production manager here at Trademark Films, and I am joined by my co-host Abby.
Hello, I am the social media and content manager for Trademark Films and also a filmmaker. Although I feel like I can never say I'm a filmmaker. I feel like I'm a videographer. I don't know if there is a difference, but
I actually had that question a little while ago.
Okay.
I looked up on Reddit, and there are some people that are very particular about you can only call yourself a filmmaker if you have shot a movie on actual film.
Oh.
Other people are more you're a filmmaker if you are in the film industry.
Yeah.
Specifically, independent filmmaker, you wear a lot of hats, you do a lot of jobs. If you're on a small film set,
yeah,
you're hey, I'm a filmmaker, versus if you're on a studio lot, then you're what your job is. I'm a gaffer, I'm an electrician, I'm the PA, that kind of a thing. But it all kind of falls under the film industry, so we're all filmmakers.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on if you're trying to be inclusive or exclusive.
That's so true. I feel like it can be a very exclusive industry sometimes. I don't know. That's a conversation for a different time. So I'm I don't know what I am. I make videos and I love being behind the camera. I don't know if I can call myself a filmmaker because I don't know that I make films, I'll make a 3-minute film about a trip I went on or something, or so I don't know. I make videos. I like making videos.
Well, you, just for those out there, you made a really great documentary.
Okay, I am a filmmaker.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. I'm a filmmaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feel good. Yes.
This is great. This is a very good start.
See, I love it. I think that's awesome. I definitely want to be more inclusive in the industry.
I think that's amazing.
Now, to, I guess, very poorly segue into today's topic. What we're going to be talking about today is, maybe for those of you who don't know Trademark Films, we're going to talk a little bit about our history. We're going to talk about the basics of film distribution, as well as, maybe some tools for you guys and why you should stick around. Trademark Films, as an entity from its inception, has been around for a few years now. We were originally called Soro Films, and Soro Films as an entity is still around, and we started out producing films. We have produced several very good films, like The Killing of Two Lovers that went to Sundance a few years ago. With Mallory and some other people from Studio C over at BYU, we made Stop and Go, which combined with BuzzFeed Films went to South by Southwest. We have documentaries like The Lonely Master with about Jimmer Fredette, or The Insufferable Gru. I love that movie.
Good dose of Jack Black too.
Oh yeah, have Jack Black's in that one. It's fantastic. We've worked with a bunch of independent filmmakers in Utah. We are based out of Utah, but we've worked with filmmakers all over the world. Recently, within the past 2 years, we have decided to shift from production of films to distribution of films, and there's a very particular reason for that. The films that we have made, like The Killing of Two Lovers, Stop and Go, were very well received by critics, very well received by audiences at the film festivals they went to.
Yeah.
And they were signed with some distributors. We found distribution through some relatively large, well-known distributors. For legal reasons, I probably shouldn't name them. But going through film school, you hear about making the movie, about getting your projects off the ground, how to find funding, how to produce films, how to just get your stories told, but not a whole lot of information about what happens after. And so kind of the goal that I always had was just get it seen and then get it distributed. I have a very clear memory of being a kid watching behind the scenes stuff, and I saw the behind the scenes of, it was either the movie Cabin Fever by Eli Roth or Saw by Lee Winnell and James Wan. One of those like low budget horror films that got picked up by Lionsgate. And they were at a film festival, and right before the screening, they went up on stage and were like, hey guys, we just want to announce that we had this amazing deal go through, and now we are being distributed through Lionsgate.
Okay.
And they said, and it was a deal for $1 million.
Okay.
Which is, you know, for an independent filmmaker, a huge goal.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and $1 million for the movie you made, that's fantastic. And then both of those films got theatrical releases. Both of them have sequels. Like, so regardless of which film it actually was, the point stands that it was like, in my mind, okay, you go to a film festival and buyers will be there.
Yeah.
And it gets picked up, and then you're like, cool, movie's gonna get seen, it's gonna be put in theaters, it's gonna get sequels, it's like, I'm gonna make so much money just by getting my movie distributed. But then here, there's a little bit more of the reality of the business of filmmaking.
Yes.
And how the industry is designed to exploit the filmmakers so that they'll make a big project, they take on all the risk, and then the distributors come in, they don't take any of the risk, and then also take all of the profit, basically.
Yes.
And so, like, for the majority of our films, we haven't seen any profit.
Which is crazy because, like you said, like, they are, I mean, The Killing of Two Lovers was, like, hugely successful at Sundance. Stop and Go, like, I had seen that before I even started working here, before I, like, you know, even knew what Trademark Films was. Like, that's crazy that you can have good films that do well and not see anything.
Not see anything from it, right?
Yeah. It's
weird seeing the reports from these companies, like, here's how much your movie made, but here's how much we're paying you, and seeing the discrepancy between those. It's been just kind of an interesting, weird experience, like, learning about that, you know?
And that's interesting too. I feel like if you put that in the context of any other business, if I have like a company where I make water bottles and I put all this money into creating the actual product, and then, you know, basically outsource the selling and, you know, getting it onto shelves, and I make just, you know, absolutely no money from that. Like, people will be like, oh, that's not good. That's a bad business practice. You made a poor decision. You need to go do something else. You know, figure out a different way to get it onto shelves, get it to your customers. And I guess, but it's like, it's very standard practice to not make money with your movie.
Right. Yeah. Like, it's interesting that you bring up like a physical good, like water bottles. If I make something and sell it on Etsy, Etsy's going to take a little bit of a cut, but overall, I'm still going to at least see some money from the products I make.
Yeah.
Right? In film, it is very much not that case for the majority of film deals. The top of the line ones, you're gonna be seeing stuff, right? And especially if you have some prestige, if you have sold multiple movies, if you have some weight to throw around, sure. But for first time or independent filmmakers, that's very, very rarely the case.
Yeah. And I guess there is something to be said, no matter what industry you're in, if you have a good product, you're going to make money off that. People are going to buy that from you, whether it's, you know, something super practical that you need or something like art. And so I guess, like, you know, the customers have the buying power. They will weed out the bad businesses in the end. But at the same time, like, it's just so interesting that it's not really a red flag to be like, I'm throwing all this money into it, I'm going to take this terrible deal, or like, you can, you know, that's what you're given. And you don't really have the power, to say like, no, I'm going to do something else with my movie because I actually want to make money, or like, I don't want to lose all this money, I guess, like, and I don't really know. I've never distributed a film, but just kind of hearing about filmmakers' experiences, hearing about our movie experiences, it feels like there's not a lot of, not necessarily negotiating power, but you don't have a lot of options, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. Like you said, take it or leave it.
Yeah. It's a whole different world than what you're prepared for. But the majority of the time that you spend in film school is learning how to make the movie.
Yeah.
Which, yes, you need to know how to make a good movie, right?
Stay in school.
Stay in school. Or don't, and just make your movie, right?
Also, yes.
Number one priority, make the movie.
Yeah.
But then what? But then how you spent however much money, $60,000 making this film, how do you make that money back? How do you make more money and put it towards a new film? How do you get your next project off the ground? What is that next step, you know?
Yeah. I'm interested because I have a background in journalism. I didn't go to film school. This is kind of like come on for more of a hobby, but do they teach you anything about the business side? Like, do you talk about distribution? Is there a class? Is it just kind of mentioned in a lecture? Like, how has that looked for you?
In my experience, it's been more of like, it's been a day as part of a class.
Oh, okay.
Like in my producing class, you know, they have different levels of production classes, right? They have classes that are specifically camera work. They have classes specifically editing. They have classes that are specifically producing. And that's partly to help you like learn about the whole process, but also find out what interests you the most.
Yeah.
And in my producing classes, they'll mention, you know, the producer is the one that's in charge of getting the product made, getting the production off the ground, getting the funding, making the movie. It's their project, right?
Yeah.
They'll direct it themselves or hire the director or however it works, but the producer, specifically on independent films, is in charge of getting it made.
Yeah.
And they're the ones who are then in charge of getting it shown, submitting it to film festivals, managing it as, you know, an IP and intellectual property, that kind of a thing. But they don't teach you how to do it. They mention that that's what you do, but not how it gets, how it's, that process works.
Okay,
right?
interesting.
And so, like, my professor actually has had a very interesting career as a producer in the film industry, making shorts, making features, making commercials, a whole different thing, or all those different things. And his take on it is you have to do your research and go to different distributors, find aggregators, self-distribute, however that works. But it's also just kind of like, where do I start?
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
In my mind, until college, it was like, okay, I'm going to make the best film ever, get it into a film festival, and then it's done. Next project.
Totally.
Right? But that's just not realistically how the process is going to go.
Yeah.
If you make something fantastic, absolutely.
But are most people out of the gate
Yeah.
gonna make something fantastic, you know?
Exactly.
Even like maybe your fifth movie, like I feel like you see so many people who it's been like 10, 20 years in the industry and then they have their like blockbuster or their like huge indie hit, you know, things like that.
It's into this industry that we've kind of started to make our claim as independent filmmakers.
Yeah.
The idea that we have for Trademark Films is to get your film shown to as many people as possible. I have picked up a motto that I like, that I tell every filmmaker that we work with: your passion will find an audience, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Your audience for your low-budget independent horror film isn't going to be everyone.
Yes.
But the passion that you have for that project will resonate with people, and you'll find an audience.
Yeah.
And so our job is to find that audience.
Absolutely.
Help you find that audience while giving equitable splits. So because we're in this position where we've been, for lack of a better term, screwed over by distributors, we know what that's like, and we don't want that to happen to other filmmakers.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, like, that's kind of where we come in, is working with filmmakers to, like, give equitable splits, give consistent, clear reporting, give what you're, for lack of a better term, just like what you're owed as a filmmaker, you know?
Yeah.
And that's kind of a weird position to be in, because how do you go about distributing a movie?
That is the $1 million question.
There's a million ways.
Yeah.
There's so many different things that you have to know. You have to know things like markets. You have to know things like types of distribution.
Yeah.
Things like VOD, video on demand, theatrical distribution, physical distribution, educational distribution, international distribution, different markets, different brands. How do you get your film shown in Germany? How do you get your film shown in Indonesia? How do you get your low budget bottle drama onto TV at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Like filling those time slots. Like there's a lot that goes into it to learn.
Definitely.
That can be overwhelming.
So you're saying all these things that are super, I mean, that's a lot to think about. If you've just, produced a movie, it's taken you, I don't know how long, but it's been a lot of mental and physical and probably emotional effort. Like you've got this baby that you're trying to, show to the world, and you want people to love it as much as you do. So if you're trying to distribute a movie, can you do that yourself? Or do you have to get a company involved? Is there any way to kind of DIY that?
Yes, you can distribute it yourself. And there are plenty of ways that you can. Internet distribution, film festivals, working with a sales agent. You can absolutely self-distribute. And most filmmakers at one point or another will probably self-distribute their films. Just because, I don't know, a film shown to 10 people is better than a film shown to none.
True.
Right? The reason why you would work with like a distributor like Trademark is really about time, energy, and management. If I like to use the analogy of like real estate. If you bought an apartment complex and you self-manage it, just like self-distributing, you have to fill all of the rooms, you have to manage all of the upkeep, you have to keep track of all the contracts, you have to do A, B, and C to make sure that all the tenants are taken care of, that all the money is flowing, which is a full-time job a lot of the time. And then you start adding more and more buildings, adding more and more films, adding more and more projects. It's all about managing that, which I know from experience, most filmmakers either don't know how to manage their projects or don't want to because they want to move on to the next thing, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
I don't know a single filmmaker who has made a short film that doesn't already have 4 or 5 other ideas of short films that they're trying to get made, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard to do your next project if you're also managing your last one. Right.
It just gives you the mental space to focus on what you're actually here to do, which is make movies, right?
Exactly. It's going to be a better deal to have somebody like us manage it because we already have things like connections to streaming services. We already have contacts. We already have distribution plans. We have marketing teams. That's stuff that you have to do yourself, or we can help you do it for you. The difference between like Trademark and other distribution companies is the equity of the deal. We are going to manage this property for you, but you will still see from the get-go the return.
Yeah.
Right? One thing that from the get-go has been a priority for us is first dollar deals. So if your movie makes $1, you are going to see your cut of that first dollar. You're not going to have to wait until there's a threshold of however much, we make off of this before you start seeing stuff, which is a very common deal that you'll see from other distributors. It is from day one how much you're going to get. You're going to get 50-50 split, 75-20 split. Like whatever the deal is for your movie, from the very first dollar, you will see something from that.
So we take on some of the risk for that movie then. Like it's really an investment. It's not just saying, okay, cool, you sell me your movie and whatever happens, but I've made money. Or I guess like I have the potential to make money. It's saying, okay, we're in this together. Like
Absolutely.
We as a company are working with you as a filmmaker, and we've both got skin in the game. We both want to make this movie successful, which I think makes for more, like you said, more equitable deals, more we're going to try hard, because that's, you know, that's our horse in the race too.
Exactly. We're not just going to say, oh, great, thanks for the movie, and then do nothing with it.
Yeah.
We also want your film to be shown to people.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know of any filmmaker who is like, okay, I've made this movie, now I want nobody to see it.
Exactly.
Right?
Just stick it under a rock. And,
yeah.
Yep.
Now, I know that there are some examples, and people are going to say, oh, you know, Stanley Kubrick, when he made Clockwork Orange, he took it off the shelves because he didn't want people to see it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's very specific examples for very specific things. There's really no reason. Why are you making this movie? Why are you telling this story if you don't want people to hear it?
Yeah, exactly.
Especially on an independent film level, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we also want people to see and hear that film, and we want to work with you to make sure that happens.
Yeah. One thing that I just think about this so much, it's in our Instagram bio, and I feel like it's like drilled, probably like laser engraved on my brain at this point. But we talk about we talk about this a lot in our marketing meetings when we're like, okay, what is the why behind Trademark Films, right? And we've kind of boiled it down to this idea of we are here to help the little guy. We want to help, you know, the indie filmmaker who is not Walt Disney Studios. You know, they're not like this huge studio. They're not going to turn out, you know, the next Marvel movie or these big blockbusters. But we are here because we want to promote independent films. We want to amplify these emerging new voices in the film industry and these real and authentic and honest stories. And I think that's really important to everything we do, because it's like we're an amplifier for these independent films. You know, like we're taking them because we believe in them. If we sign for a film, it's because we see potential. It's because we think it has a long ways to go, and we can get it in front of people who are going to be passionate about it. Like we are passionate about it, and like the filmmaker is passionate about it. And so I think like that's important to remember, is our why is we are here to take, you know, these little independent films, help the little guy, and amplify their voice and their stories to the audiences who are gonna care and who are gonna want to see their story.
Like we said, your passion will find an audience, right? It might not be a huge audience. You might not make, at the end of the day, you might break even. You might not, you know, there's really no guarantee of what's going to be successful. Mm-hmm. But it's better to try than to not, you know?
Yeah. And I just feel like people in the film industry are some of the most passionate, driven people who just love what they do.
For sure.
You know, like, I don't know really of anyone who I've talked to who's studying film or who works in the industry who's like, oh yeah, I'm here because I'm going to make a ton of money. You know, I want a comfortable life. I want to, you know, be super wealthy or whatever. I feel like everyone I talk to, they're like, oh, I'm here because I love XYZ. I love movies. I want to make movies. Like, I want to be here because I feel like this is my calling, kind of, you know, like.
For sure.
And so you want to do things that are going to at least help you break even, that are going to help you make money with your movie. But at the end of the day, like, you're here because you want to make films, and we are here to help you do that in a way that can actually make this profitable and like feasible for you to keep as a part of your life. For sure.
Yeah. No, I think that's absolutely right. We know what it's like to be on the raw end of a bad deal, you know, and it doesn't feel good. We want to make it so that the little guy, the independent filmmaker, the new kid on the block, that they have just as good of a chance to make a living as a filmmaker as the next guy.
Totally.
You know? So, I don't know. I feel like we covered it.
I do too, yeah. Should we wrap it up?
Yeah.
Should we invest in a teleprompter?
I have thought about it, actually.
It's probably so much money. And
They're
we can
really
do
not,
it.
like, terrible.
Really?
You can, like, it depends on what kind of a teleprompter
That's
you want.
true.
If you want one that has a screen built into it, like,
Love those.
they're, $300-400. Really not terrible. Like, a decent-sized one.
Okay.
For a unnamed and will go unnamed YouTube show that I did for a couple of years, I made my own teleprompter.
Oh, that's sick. That's so cool. That's the best. Dang. I truly think you have not lived until you've used a teleprompter. It is a great experience.
I'm glad that you had a great experience.
Okay. I love me a good teleprompter.
I did not. I did not have a good experience with it.
We digress. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Today, stay tuned. New podcast episodes drop every other Friday, so follow us on your podcast streaming platform of choice and get ready. Next time, we'll be talking about the different kinds of distribution, self-distribution versus working with a company like Trademark Films, the ins and outs, ups and downs of both. And like I said, thanks for joining us for Heaven Forbid Your Movie Make Money. We are here to help you. So
we'll see you next time.
have a good one.
Bye.